Hey guys, it's Steve. Welcome back to the SMunger channel. And today I'm going to be doing a pretty in-depth skin tutorial for... This will work on all of the BeamNG cars, but specifically I'm going to be going over the Mustang and Camry. In Camaro, this works is the same process on the Camaro, but specifically I'm going to be using the Mustang today. We're going to be making a skin for a driver in the SMunger Cup series for the Charlotte race coming up. We're going to have some patriotic schemes. But today we're going to be working on the 11 car of Ryland Just. So, if you're starting a new pack, you'd start by making a new vehicles folder. You would just right click, new folder, and you would name it vehicles. Mine's up here. But then after that, you would open it, and depending on what version of the NASCAR you're working on, you're either going to put NASCAR, NASCAR Camry, or NASCAR Mustang. You're going to make that as a new folder. Since we're adding on to the Mustang, I'm just going to go into the Mustang. And then in here, you're going to create a new folder, because we're making a new skin. I'm going to name this one Just 5, because it is the 5th Ryland Just scheme. And I would like to note while we're here, whatever you name this folder, you need to put this name into the name of the skin file, and into the script files that go with it, your NASCAR.materials folder, file, all that. So, we're going to name it Just 5 because it's the 5th skin. We're going to copy the NASCAR and the skin.materials files, as well as the nameplates folder, which on the Mustang and Camry, this folder right here is actually empty. It's only on the Camaro you have anything to do with it, because on the Mustang and Camry template, they just put it in the skin file and not as a separate thing. The Camaro, it's a separate thing. But in order for it to still work, since it uses the Camaro mod as a base, this still needs to be here if you're using it for a Mustang or a Camry. So we're going to copy these. I don't remember if I already did or didn't. We're going to paste them in, and then you're going to get your skin file, which I'm going to copy this temp since I have the file on hand. Go back to your skin file. Put it there. You're going to rename this to whatever you named the file to begin with. Between the second underscore and before the dot color is where you're going to put it. So it's going to be Just 5 dot color is the skin name. We're going to open up the NASCAR.jbeam file. And the only thing we're going to be changing in here is going to be this, where it says Just 4. We're going to be changing that to Just 5. And if you hit search and go to replace, you can just do it automatically. It'll do it everywhere in the file, which is right here and right here. It's only 2 spots. And right here on line 5, I'm going to put what sponsor it is. It's going to be a Viagra patriotic scheme for Ryland Just at the Charlotte race here in a few, probably closer to a couple months, to be honest with you, with the rate these races take to make. So we're going to save that. We're going to do the same thing in the skin.materials file. You're going to replace whatever is already there with your new file name. This is going to be 5 times in here, so it's going to be 2 in NASCAR.jbeam, 5 in the skin.materials one, and nothing else. All you do is save and close, and you're done with scripts already. So, in terms of scripts, that is literally it. You're just copying and pasting a total of about 7 lines worth of stuff, and it's pretty much 2 command prompts. So it's not a very difficult process. Now, I'm going to open this, which is going to be our skin file, and I want to real quick take a moment and show you what we're going to be putting on here. So as I said before, we're doing a Viagra patriotic scheme. This is going to be the base scheme. Dale Jr.'s 2000, I believe this is his 2007 Pepsi 400 scheme. But we're going to be replacing the Bud logos with Viagra logos. I'm probably not going to keep these here. I'm probably going to put his associate sponsors close to what he's been running in the series in place of what's already here. But in essence, it's going to be the same scheme. It's going to have the stars on the fenders, on the bumper. It's going to be the blue on the hood, the red stripes down the door. I have a few photos, even a couple of renders loaded up, even a couple die-cast photos. That way, so we can get some really good shots and some up-close details on some things in specific. Like how this ribbon, I thought this was just a ribbon, but then looking on the diecast, I can see that it hooks down through the logo, so I know it splices two ways. So that's why having photos like these in your browser while working on your project is a good thing. You can keep an eye on it, and you can make a lot of important key details. Like here, I'm probably going to start with the hood, to be honest with you, because it's just a solid blue, and work my way with the fenders, because it's the nose piece on the template, excuse me, is about half of the fenders and the nose, and then the hood's separate. So I know for certain all of that here is going to be blue. I might start the white stripe in the middle. No, actually, I'll probably just do the white stripe here on this section of the fender, since that's where the Goodyear logo is. And if you look here, the white stripe goes through the Goodyear. It's not prior to the Goodyear, so I'll just do that. So the whole nose clip and the whole hood, I know for certain will be blue. And from there, it's important to just pick a spot and then just work from there. That way, so you're not making something off center or too small. You have these reference photos to go back to. So, and if you have a certain section that you know is going to be a solid color, it doesn't hurt to just start with that, because if you have a spot that's solid, you can always just build from that. And once you load it into the game, you'll be able to see how it looks from there. So, anyway, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to get to work on this, but I'm not going to cut the video. I'm just going to have it fast forward. So, anyway, here we go. Alright, so for now, I'm happy with the sides as is. I'm probably going to end up moving this middle ribbon, the bottom down, to closer to the top of the skirts, and I might bring this bottom one down so this top part is closer to this bottom here, because it's not 100% accurate, but again, it's really hard to get a Gen 4 body skin onto a Gen 6 100% accurate. But for right now, I'm just going to save this. And when you're saving your skin file, you're going to want to export it as a direct draw service or a DDS file. You're going to save. It's going to take a while for it to save. It's going to ask you to flatten. And if you didn't notice, I'm going to take a moment here real quick. I made a driver's side layer, I made a hood and nose layer, and I made the base layer white. I did that, and I'm going to go back on that, and I'm going to show you. I did that way so it's a lot easier for me to change something on the nose, but without taking out everything on the scheme. This gives me more ability to just adjust something if I don't like the way, like this ribbon, I don't like the way how it's up so high. So I have it on its own layer. That way I'm able to go back and change it without having to change the entire base. So anyway, you're going to take your file, you're going to compress to a zip folder. And while that's compressing to a zip folder, I'm going to open my mods folder. It should just pop up over here any second now. Right there, you're going to name this to whatever you would like your skin folder name to be. But I'm just going to rename this to replace my skins for the series. Since I'm adding one into the folder, I'm just going to be updating the folder. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to take a moment to load up BeamNG. We're going to see how this looks in game. Now I'm going to set my graphics to lowest because my game doesn't really perform all that great when I don't have my fans blowing that hot, and I have my fans set to quiet because, well, my mic tends to pick it up when the fans are blowing. Actually, we're just going to go to grid map. That should be the easiest one to load. So we're going to go to grid map. I'm going to load up the car. I want to see how it looks. See, this is exactly what I was talking about. This thing always gets goofy when I don't have my fans blowing. But I don't want my fans blowing right this second because of the fact that I have my microphone right here. I don't want you guys listening to the fan blowing straight into it the entire time if I don't have to make you guys. And I'm only going to have the game open for a moment, so I don't really care about the performance of it at the moment. So, let's take a look at this. I know that it doesn't look all that impressive considering we're in lowest graphics at the moment. But this is where you would take an opportunity to look at some things. Like, I can see that the way that my hood in the template does this spike thing, and the way it lines up with the fender. I know I need to adjust that because the hood is spiking out into the fender. So I might end up bringing this blue layer that's in the fender down from up here, because I do have some blue in the fender, as I mentioned before. It's just up here. So I might end up bringing all that down so I can blend in that corner spot right there, because I can see it through the template that there's a little bit of black sticking through there. But as for my general base scheme, I'm happy with the colors. I'm happy with how the blue is. I'm happy with how the red is. I'm happy with where they're blending in up here against the rear window. I got that little streak of white that comes along the bottom of the window. Where is the real life photo? Yeah, there it is. A little bit of streak of white that comes along the bottom of the window. The B pillars are always black, which that's just the way it is on the template. I'm not even going to bother changing that. But the fact I got that little bit of white in that bottom of the C-post and underneath the back seat window, I'm happy with where I got the blue and the red streaming up there. So my two things are this spot right here, which is where I'm going to bring the blue down. And this middle ribbon I'm going to extend to start probably closer to the top of the skirt, And I'm probably going to put this bottom ribbon starting closer to the bottom of the skirt. That way so it's closer to this. I'm not saying that's entirely inaccurate, but it is a little higher than where it should be. And that middle ribbon definitely starts, or ends a little higher than it should. So I'm going to lower that some. I'm going to lower that boost some. So anyways, with that said, I'm going to go back to fast forward making this game, and I'll stop talking here. I'll let you guys watch from home too. Alright, so as you just saw, what I did was I flipped the driver's side, made it a passenger side layer. I put it where it would match up with this side, and again, I'll show you what I mean. As you can see, it's like 3 pixels above that. It's maybe 2 or 3 over here, so maybe the passenger side will eventually get drug up another pixel or 2 total. But they line up pretty accurate, and one side to the other usually is off a pixel or 2. So that might genuinely be where I want it at. Because as you see down here, on the driver's side, I have that bottom red ribbon right there at the bolt for the skirt. Same for on the passenger side. So some things will line up, some things won't, but as long as it looks like it mostly does, it probably does. So I'm going to take right this moment as an opportunity to save it. Once again, you're going to save your skin file as a DDS file. Flatten. Let it load for a second, and again, it's going to take forever on my system because I don't have the fans going. So what I'm going to do here, because I don't want to go through the entire process of rezipping the folder, I showed you how to zip the folder the first time. But if you open your initial folder that you put in your mods folder, and you go back to the skin that you added into it. So this is our new Ryland Just 5. This is the skin we're working on. So if you open it from the mods folder, and then you open it again from the... mine's on the desktop, so if you open it from the folder you're working from in one file, and the folder in the mods file in another window, so they're separate like this, you can literally just drag in, and this process is a lot quicker than just zipping it every single time over and over and over again. It's just because the zip process will take about 30 seconds, and then you got to rename it to match the old one if you even named it in the first place. I do, because it makes it easier for me to, tell what's what. So for me, it's like 30 seconds to zip it, and then I got to rename it, and then I got to put it in, and then I got to confirm that I do want to override the file. It's just quicker to open up 2 windows and just transfer the skin file itself across the windows. So figured I would show you guys that real quick, but we're going to take a moment. We're going to load up the scheme, and at the end of the video, I'll load it up with the high graphics so we get the best look at this. But for right now, I'm going to exactly focus on the high details because I don't have any of my like graphics on. I just want to see how the lines blend up. And I like this a lot better. This looks a lot more accurate. Well, if I were to put it into a camera shot, oh, whoops, not that one. That isn't too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. So, let's take a look at the passenger side. I want to see how that looks as well, because we haven't had a chance to look at this side yet. So, as you can see, there's a little bit of a black trim that goes around the window, so I won't get that white right up the windows like in the Gen 6 car. But just like on the driver's side, I did get that gap in the bottom window. You see there too, I did get that gap. So, that's nice. This blends up really nicely to the window. That actually looks pretty even. This point almost right up to the rear window. This point almost right up to the rear window. See, this is just above the bottom of the shadow. This is just above the bottom of the shadow. This is just below the skirt hole. These two are almost touching. This is going through like 1 letter. This is going through just under 1 letter. Yeah, so the sides match up. And the only reason I didn't paint the roof blue, which as we can see in the photos on Google, the roof is blue. I just wanted to see how it loaded up. I wanted to make sure my sides lined up proper. So, with that said, I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to go back to fast forward editing this. In this next stage, I'm going to be painting the roof blue. I think we got the body scheme done pretty much, but I'm going to be doing the roof, and I'll be adding the door numbers and showing you how to size those into place. So I'll be right back with that. Alright, so now that I've got the roof painted, I'm ready to put on my door numbers. And as you saw a second ago, I was flipping through the photos in my browser. I was seeing how the number looks on all spots of the, the original scheme, the 8 car. And it's just a white center with a black border. So with that in mind, I'm just going to make the border here. Oh, I got to make it fill inside. I'm going to fill the border, make it a solid black. And I usually start with the roof, because the roof number will always be the biggest number on the car. I'm going to put a little bit of space so I can put a Viagra logo across the rear banner. And as you can see, when I did the outline drag, it left like a shadow of the 11 sitting here. And if you have a selection that's like right up to the edge of something and you want to delete what's outside of it, if you hit Control plus I at the same time, you see how the 9 dots around my 11 disappeared, but now I got that one that's centered in the middle. Now it's selected everything on the layer except for the inside of these marching ants, as I call them. So if you just hit the delete button, you'll see the shadow disappears up there, and you have a lot cleaner edges as well. Just a tip and trick there that I picked up on. So you start with your roof number, at least I would, then go down to the driver's side, and I'm going to show you something on this template, which I'm not sure you guys, some of you guys may know, some of you guys may not have noticed. We have these bolt lines that, these ones start at the front of the driver's window, these ones start at the front of the B-pillar. So that is pretty much your door center. And that is where on the Gen 6 the numbers are most prominent at. So I'm going to size it. I'm going to move it down. I personally like my numbers to be level with the top of the series logos. So that's it. I'm going to put that there. slide it in the middle. I want to see how that compares. Because you can see the 8 is just below the top of the red ribbon. But since this is going at an angle, I can't really do that necessarily. But the bottom of the 8 sticks out below that third ribbon. I can't entirely do that fully either, but I can drag this 11 down. This is the shadow for the skirt, pretty much, where it finally pops back out and straightens all the way down to the bottom. I usually don't push the numbers much past that. So I'll make the height from the top of this logo to this gray line here. And I won't make the numbers too crazy wide in the middle because it'll make them look odd. But I'll usually put them smack center of these sets of door bolts, like the body panel bolts. If I can center it over the jack marker, I will. It's kind of hard with double digits, but with single digits, you usually can. But that's how I would size that onto the door there. Instead of doing the passenger side door immediately, I'm just going to do the back bumper and then the front bumper, because since I have a driver's side number already sized up, it'll be the same size on the passenger side. So I'm just going to copy and flip that over. Put that 11 over there. We got one that's going to go under this light. Okay. That is perfect. And now I'm going to go back to the one that I had on the door. Double it. I'm going to go up to... Actually, I'm going to make sure I have nothing selected first. And then I'm going to go up to layers. I'm going to hit rotate 180 degrees. Take it. It'll flip it over. Now I'm going to drag it all the way back down here because I want to line it up symmetrically. So... See how it gets wider when I go further right? It means it's off center, but when I go to left of center, it gets a little wide there on the right side. That means I have this centered. It won't get any more center than that unless I zoom in and do oddly specifics. But honestly, it's not going to be a noticeable difference if it's off by much, which honestly it doesn't look like it's going to be. And it lines right up with that jack post as it should. And it is just above the bottom of the door bolts, just like down there as well. Actually, I can probably put that down one more. That's perfect. So, now, excuse me, I have a bit of cold. Now we have our numbers on. I'm just going to flatten those into one layer, set of 5. I've noticed that the more layers you have, the more performance heavy your photo editor will be. Depending on what service you're using, Photoshop, I'm using Paint.net. The more layers you have, the more heavier it starts to function. It starts to lag some. So if you bunch your layers up together into one, it's not as performance heavy. But I have my numbers on. I put them down towards the bottom. And the reason I put all this at the bottom is because there's so many layers of just shading, right? So if I can find it, I usually can't just find it. Actually, there it is. I'll be damned, I did. If I turn that off, you'll see... Is it not? Okay, I guess it's not that one. It's one of these. Yeah, that was it back there. Okay, I just saw it. Do you see how when I turn the M on and off, it gets brighter? When it's off, it gets darker when it's on. That's one of your shade layers. So that's why I put everything at the bottom. That way so I'm not messing up the shading that comes preset on it. And it works out pretty nice. It makes everything look pretty nice. So that's why I do that. I just want to clarify the importance of that. And I figure if I show you that there is a shade layer, I can explain that a lot better than just saying, oh, I just do that. So sorry if that was a bit annoying to have to listen through, but I just wanted to show you what I meant by that instead of just trying to say, this is what I mean, and expecting you to pick up on that. So, I have my numbers on. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to once again save. I'm going to export it into the game. I'm going to see how this looks. Because after this, if my numbers are in a good spot, all I got left are my sponsor decals, and honestly, I'll probably just fast forward through that entire section, because that is genuinely the easiest part of the entire thing, is just slapping sponsor decals onto your skin. It's this base part. The base part and the number centering is where, in my opinion, you'll 100% ruin or make a scheme. You'll either make the scheme really good just on number placement or on the placement of lines on the scheme itself, or it just won't look right at all. But you can't necessarily mess up the scheme in its entirety just by having the sponsor offset a little bit. At least in my opinion, it can be annoying, but it won't just inherently ruin it, like as if you had the line spaced too far on the actual scheme itself. I don't know why I loaded up Daytona this time. I've just been loading up the grid map. I guess I've just been working on the Daytona race through the SMunger Cup Series for so long lately that I'm just used to loading that up. So we're going to take a look at this real quick. And I'm going to pull it away from the wall so we can get a little bit of a better look at this. So I got the number pretty centered. As you can see right there, the top right point is inside the beep post. The bottom left point is a little outside of this window, like the bar that separates this window net and the front window net, which is fine. That's usually how I do it, because on this side, that front window net thing isn't there. And it does protrude forward a little bit, but it does line up with the beep post just like it does on the other side. So the numbers are all even. The number on the roof looks good, legible. On the back, that's good. So yeah, at this point, realistically speaking, I just have sponsors left to put on this, and to change the rear banner to say Just, to match Ryland Just. And I also have a name rail logo for him, a signature of his name that I'm going to put on the car. But anyway, I'm going to go back to fast forwarding, working on the scheme, and I'll let you guys see how I finish the stuff. Okay, so now that I have my sponsors on, I've put my stars around. I know that the spacing and the size of the stars on the nose, and same for the rear, isn't, again, 100% accurate to how it is on this car. But with the way that the nose and the rear is on this car, the Gen 6, there's just no way to make it accurate. And so I just went ahead and put them in similar spots, similar layout, same number. It's just one of those things where you're realistically just not going to be able to make that happen. So one of the last things I personally would like to do when I'm done making a scheme, first of all, I always send all of my items I've put into the scheme to the bottom. I guess I forgot to combo the layers for my stars, so I'm going to do that real quick. Put them all together. Put them into the body. And I'm even going to put that onto the base because I'm no longer going to adjust any of that. The only thing I recommend after you're done is any layer that you added, like logos or whatnot, do a grab of the outside of the layer, because as you see in the middle, there's like an outline left from the name rail that I put on the roof rails right there. So I'm just gonna clean up any just a stray pixels. I don't see any there, either that or it collected them. I'm gonna go above the 11. I don't see any, either that or it collected them. And I personally recommend turning your tolerance up higher, that way so it can grab more of them, because if you have a higher tolerance, it'll grab more of what's blending together. But if you have that turned down lower, it'll grab less of what's blending. So if you're looking to grab a selection, an oddly small selection, turn that down lower. If you're trying to get a bigger one, turn that up. But after doing that to all my logos, I no longer see any doubling or any outlines of logos I've moved around anywhere on here. I don't have anything that's up there. I am good to save. This should be our final export of the scheme. The only thing that we may come back in and adjust is our roof rail signatures, because those are, I'll be upfront on that, those are pretty hard to eyeball. You usually do not get those on the first try. You usually have to move them around 2 or 3 times even, because the way that the roof rail is, it's curved, so like it'll show on like a flat surface if you're looking from the door, but if you're looking from above, it might be warped up, it might be warped in, it might not show. It's let me just show you before I try and explain it, because if I show you rather than just trying to explain it, I'll be able to do a better job of getting my point across as to what I mean by that. So give me just a moment while I load this up. But this scheme otherwise should now be done, and you would be doing the same thing as we did at the start to process your video, or not video, process your skin out. So as you see there, do you see like this line? It gets dark here, it gets bright up there. This is the edge of the roof rail, so I'm probably going to shrink this one down from the top. As for the passenger side, you can see it's doing the same thing, and it's actually sitting higher in the roof rail than this one, whereas the bottom of the Y is sitting on the bottom edge. The bottom of the Y over here isn't quite, there's a little bit of a gap. So this right side, I'll end up bringing that down, and I'll end up shrinking this one actually probably 2 or 3 pixels. But for the most part, this is a finished scheme. We're going to go ahead, and if it looks that solid on your lowest quality settings, it should look pretty good on Ultra now. I don't see any stray pixels, I don't see anything that's out of shape from where it should be. Looks pretty level to me. Everything seems pretty even. Oh, one more thing. If you don't like this shield, it's on the Mustang and the Dodge template specifically. This shield over the passenger side exhaust, I'll show you how to turn that off here too, because I'm going to turn that off myself because I don't care for it. Also to note, the ribbon looks a lot better, a lot closer to this than it did the first time. So I'm happy with that. I can read the Goodyear logo pretty easily. This is pretty good. This is the only thing I'm going to change. I'm also going to adjust these roof rails real quick. I'm actually going to close out because I'm getting terrible frame rate at the moment. But the only thing I'm going to do is shrink these. I'm going to show you how to turn that shield off. You're going to come up here to where you get to end layer paintable parts. It's going to be up a ways from here a little bit. But you're going to go up to exhaust shield. You're going to uncheck that. You're going to hit stain. You're going to uncheck that. And that's it, because what's left is just the exhaust. And if you turn that off, well, you'll lose the exhaust pipe graphic. If you want it there, leave it on. If you want it off, turn it off. Up to you. But I usually leave it on. But that's how you turn off that cover. And you should be able to get the regular, you know, paint scheme back over there. As for our name rails, I'm gonna real quick just shorten this one. Probably 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do 4. And as for this side, I'm gonna get the bottom of the box right up to the bottom of the name, get them right to the edge, and then shrink it 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. Once again, I'll export it, and this will probably be our final export, so I'm going to once again show you the process for how you would be exporting this properly. Because again, I'm just adding a skin into my own pack. I'm not actually making a new one for the sake of this video. But I will show you real quick how that works. So you're going to need your mods folder open on one side. Over here, you're going to grab your vehicles folder. You're going to compress the zip file. And you can name your skin once it's in the zipped folder. You can name it anything you want. It's not going to correlate with anything within the mod itself. So I'm going to name it Season 2 SMunger Cup Series Skins, because this is going to replace the old file that I had in here. And then I'm going to relaunch my game again. And we're going to take one final look at the roof rails and that passenger side exhaust area on this number 11. And I believe that'll do it for today's video, actually. So we're going to let it load up. Give it a minute. Load up the car. We're going to go up to Viagra Patriot. Yep, that roof, the name up here, it does hit that upper edge, but I'm okay with that. That looks a lot better. This passenger side one is still protruding into the roof some, so I'm probably just gonna change that post video, because honestly this video is dragging up close to 45 minutes at this point. So with that said, this is our finished product, and after this point right here, I'm going to be adding a photo of the car on a track. Anyways, the final product of the Ryland Just Patriotic scheme is pretty frickin' sweet if you ask me. And I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who stuck around this long in the video. 46 minutes is a long time, but I really wanted to do an in-depth tutorial on how I do my skins for the NASCAR Cup car and BeamNG.Drive, so I'm really appreciative of those who stuck around to this point, and I appreciate all your guys' support. Anyway, this is Steve signing out. I'll see you in the next video.